Now we'll stay with the country's water woes. Water and Sanitation Minister Phumi Majortina has recently revealed that over half of municipalities nationally face criminal charges for failing to address the sewage spills. Now this has led to freshwater resources being contaminated. Water Department Director Anet Muir is with us for more on this. Very good evening to you, Anet. Thank you for joining us. We certainly appreciate it. How many municipalities are we looking at? I understand it's 50% of the country's municipalities. How many would that be?
Thanks, Audrey. We must remember that we have 256 municipalities in the country, but only 144 of those are water services authorities. So not all municipalities are responsible for water services. So out of the 144, we have 54 municipalities facing criminal charges.
And those are the cases that you're pursuing at the moment?
Yes, my compliance and enforcement team, we have Environmental Management Act. We are designated to do criminal investigations. So we've our regions have laid criminal charges, and then our environmental inspectors are responsible for conducting criminal investigations in collaboration with the SAPS, and then engaging with the NPA once the investigations are complete.
Yeah, so this is not the first time that the department has litigated. What is the status of the previous cases opened, I think as far back as 2018? Has that been effective when you litigate against these municipalities to force them to comply?
In terms of criminal prosecution, it's punitive measures. We've had 5 cases successfully completed, resulting in large fines, but these fines aren't paid across to the department. They are ring-fenced for the municipality to then implement the corrective action. We are doing what we need to do as the regulator, but we recognize that even if we do a criminal prosecution case against the municipality, it doesn't put the infrastructure back where it needs to be. It doesn't address the governance issues that resulted in the failure in the first place. So last year we started with the reforms in the Water Services Act, as well as the National Water Act, to strengthen our regulatory functions, but also to introduce a licensing system for our water services authorities, that we have licensed water services providers. So even if we have a municipality that is the authority, that local regulator, we want competent water services providers to be in place to perform the function. So when we speak of the green drop report or the blue drop report, we see that our municipalities are not performing as water services providers. And because they are also providing the service, they are not doing the authority function of the regulator at local level very well. So we're trying to separate those functions at local government level to have proper, competent water services providers, and have the authority also restored to be the local regulator.
Yeah, because local municipalities are citing lack of funding as some of the issues that they're faced with when it comes to implementing and making sure that they comply with these laws. But as the department, you're saying it's governance issues at play. Absolutely.
Municipalities are supposed to be provided with support from national government, right? So the Department of Cooperative Governance, Human Settlements, the department itself receives and manages grant funding from National Treasury to these municipalities. But that is for refurbishments. It's not for operations and maintenance. Your municipality, I think you had Joburg Water on previously, or just before this, their non-revenue water needs to be addressed so that they can have appropriate billing systems, so they can have the revenue to ensure proper operations and maintenance, so that we don't have to keep pushing funding for simple things like operations and maintenance. So we see that municipalities apply for grant funding every 3-4 years because the infrastructure is run to the ground, because there's no operations and maintenance. And that's also highlighted through the Blue Drop and Green Drop report that focuses on, do the municipalities have the right people in place to operate the systems? And most of them don't. Luckily, in our large municipalities, our metropolitan municipalities, it's relatively good. But in our rural municipalities, they're not able to attract or retain the process controllers to actually operate and maintain the infrastructure. So we're seeing a large problem, specifically in our rural municipalities.
Yeah. And what's the extent of damage when it comes to the end users of this water that is contaminated by the sewage spills?
Our drinking water is relatively good. The challenge we have is with the infrastructure and the sewage spills. So your wastewater treatment works aren't properly treating the water, or we have manholes overflowing and that landing up in the river. So that's where our risk is we are spending a lot more money to clean our water. So, and that's the biggest problem that we had at Hammanskraal as well, is that the Temba wastewater treatment works, or the Rooiwal treatment works, the wastewater wasn't doing what it's supposed to do. And therefore the drinking water system couldn't handle the load that it's pushing in to clean it. So the risk for this wastewater is that everything downstream of it is affected. It's affecting our agricultural farming practices. It's affecting the people that are dependent on taking water directly from our water resources. And then on Rand Water, on Magalies Water, all the water boards, and even the municipalities that are treating their own water, it's costing them a whole lot more than it would have if the water was cleaner. Yeah. And obviously, if your municipality is not competent, there is a risk then also to your drinking water systems.
And the municipalities that are mostly affected by this, I understood you said mostly rural municipalities, but where else are we seeing these incidents happening? In the metros, do you have any of those cases?
In terms of wastewater? Wastewater is across the board. In the most of these cases are for wastewater, and it's across the board. We see that municipalities are focused more on drinking water systems because it is a higher valued commodity. People want to have good water coming out of their taps. But once it goes back to the wastewater, it's not a priority. The budget that we see allocated, the personnel seeing allocated to wastewater, there's just no priority for it. And that is unfortunately across the board, municipalities, small, big, metropolitan municipalities as well. And that's where I think we had 334 out of 995 wastewater systems were in critical state. When we did the green drop assessment in 2022, we will have a fresh assessment now in February to relook nationally at the wastewater systems. So we will have a new report for the green drop towards the end of this year, or closer middle of the year.
When it comes to compliance status and just the assessment of municipalities throughout the year, do you think enough is being done? Perhaps can it be done at shorter intervals to ensure that they are in compliance?
All right, so the compliance that we are doing is in terms of two legislations. So when we do the green drop reports and the blue drop reports, we look at the Water Services Act and we look at the larger picture, the budget, the people, everything like that. We also do compliance to the National Water Act, where our inspectors go out on a monthly basis to these municipalities and to the wastewater, to the system itself, to the works, to do compliance inspections. So most of the enforcement action that we have is not in terms of the Water Services Act, in terms of the capacity and the budget, but under the performance of the system to the water resources.
Anet, thank you for your time.
So we do go out on a regular basis.
Yeah, sorry, we're getting cut off there. The connection is not very good. Thank you for your time. We have at least some insight into what's going to happen going forward with this litigation. Anet Muir is the Chief Director at the Department of Water and Sanitation.